This is Red Dog Terrain. Welcome back to the shed. Today, we're building a Frostgrave. I was bringing flyers to one of my favorite local game stores, Cajun Gamer, when the owner approached me about building something for a Frostgrave game he was starting in a few weeks. Up until then, I knew nothing about Frostgrave. He described the game and what he wanted me to build. It sounded rather similar to what I had just done, so I had to come up with ways of making this build unique. I made walls out of dollar store foam board, cut and emphasized the individual planks, and added texture with my gnarly wire brush. Next, I cut egg cartons to match. The textures on these look just like plaster at this scale. I cut 4 walls, a door, and glued them into a square formation. Then, I glued in wooden posts to add a bit of stability and variation. Unimaginably tall walls of gold, ivory, polished iron, quartz, silver, and petrified wood stretched out towards the sky. Diamonds, rubies, sapphires, amethysts, and opals were set into the towers depicting the 10 schools of magic: chronomancy, elemental, enchantment, illusion, necromancy, sigil, soothsayer, summoning, thaumaturgy, and witch. Industrious smiths and scientists made leaps in technology faster than most could keep up with. Steam-powered traveling machines on rails, a system of pulleys that lifted metal containers full of people to whichever floor of the towers they desired. Small devices on the end of long sticks that etched onto stone the smiling faces of those that held them. At the street level, markets bustled with trade and goods, exotic meats and fruits, strange weapons, potions and scrolls, live animals big and small. Catacombs of secrets and skeletons filled with treasures pilfered from across the lands, spider-webbed underneath. This was the grand city of Felstad. I cut a bunch of bricks in 2 different thicknesses and shipped them in a container full of rocks. The thicker bricks would go at the bottom with the thinner ones on top. To make the stonework look different, I placed them going up to the roofline in the corners. I don't know how realistic this is, but it looked cool. I made sure to overhang every other brick, giving that realistic look once the other side is done. I cut out a section of the egg crates to simulate where the plaster had fallen off. Orleus and Vilmorin knew there must be a way to control the weather to his advantage. He knew the power of the crashing waves of the ocean against the cliff. He knew the electric energy of lightning storms. He knew the life-giving ability of the rains, along with the potential for devastation. He knew plants drink in the sun to grow strong roots and ripe fruit, but he also knew they could be just as easily dry out the fields, leaving them barren. What he didn't know was a realistic sense of how much power he could wield and control. He had a modest-sized house well on the outskirts of Felstad. The lack of extravagance kept people from being curious, and the lack of windows deterred even the most inquisitive of eyes. It was there that he stored his collection of components, magical items, and scrolls, and where his machinations of arcane power were born. Then came the hardest part of the build, the roof. The store owner wanted the roof to be in shambles and removable. I cut out foam to sit inside the walls and on top of the interior post. I attached angled foam. Then I cut medium weight chipboard, attached them at a 90-degree angle, put in a beam running length, and tested to see if it fit. I cut out a hole in the medium weight chipboard to act as more damage and hit a beam behind it. I ran foam beams in the other direction for support. In hindsight, I wish I had made these thicker and maybe added a couple more. With much struggling and plenty of cursing, I attached the roof to the supports. Everything was held together with tacky glue, pins, and hope. To keep the support, I pushed several pins all the way in and left them. Let's just say this thing would never make it through a metal detector. Got more foam board to act as a base, drew a part of the floor that would be missing, made and textured planks, and thought I was almost done. It was then that I realized my rear wall didn't go all the way to the roof. I traced the roof line and cut out for the beam and the side supports. I drew in planks and added texture to match, and besides the shingles, it was done. The wizard had tracked the atmospheric rivers and wind currents. He knew the pattern of the seas and the cycle of the moon and the stars. It was on the second day of the 10th month that Orleus had calculated his greatest chance of success. Components and herbs, magical conduits and scrolls of protection, tracking and charting would not be enough to thwart what would ultimately bring about a 1,000-year blizzard that crushed the city and eradicated a civilization.